Theme parks are designed to be places of excitement, places where families make memories, kids meet their favorite characters, and thrill seekers chasing their next adrenaline rush. But every once in a while, something goes terribly wrong. A mechanical failure, a missed warning sign, a safety shortcut. What began as a normal day at the park suddenly becomes a nightmare that nobody could have imagined. Disney parks are often viewed as some of the safest amusement parks in the world, which is why what happened in September of 2003 shocked so many people. At Disneyland in California, guests were boarding the famous Big Thunder Mountain Railroad roller coaster. The ride had operated for decades and was considered one of the park's classic attractions. Everything appeared normal. The train left the station and began climbing the familiar hills of the ride. Then disaster struck. A locomotive axle had failed, causing part of the train to derail inside a tunnel. Cars slammed into one another. Passengers were thrown violently around the ride. One man, Marcelo Torres, was killed. 10 others were injured. The incident triggered a massive investigation. Officials eventually discovered that improper maintenance procedures contributed to the failure. Disney temporarily closed the attraction while extensive repairs and safety reviews were conducted. For many visitors, it was the first reminder that even the most trusted amusement parks are not immune to tragedy. On June 9, 1991, a day that employees still refer as Black Sunday, 2 people died after entering an electrically charged pond in the park's Oktoberfest section. A third person also later died that evening in an unrelated accident. A 31-year-old guest, Timothy Benning, reached into the pond after his hat went into the water. He received a severe electrical shock from a malfunctioning underwater fountain pump system. He survived after being rescued. Seeing him in distress, William Heathcote, 33, jumped into the pond to help. He was electrocuted and died. A Kings Island employee, Daryl Robertson, also entered the water in an attempt to rescue the men. He was overcome by electrical current, lost consciousness, and drowned. The electricity came from the fault in the pond's underwater electrical equipment. Investigators determined that Heathcote died from electrocution, while Robertson drowned after being incapacitated by the electrical shock. Benning survived after being hospitalized. Tragically, less than an hour later, Candy Taylor fell approximately 60 feet from the park's Flight Commander ride and later died, making June 9, 1991 one of the darkest days in Kings Island's history. Imagine entering a haunted attraction expecting fake scares, only to discover the danger is real. On May 11, 1984, visitors entered the Haunted Castle attraction at Six Flags Great Adventure in New Jersey. The attraction was a dark maze built with connected trailers filled with spooky effects. As guests wandered through the darkness, a fire started inside. At first, many people thought the flames were part of the show. Some visitors reportedly continued walking deeper into the attraction because they assumed the fire was another special effect. It wasn't. The blaze spread rapidly through the flammable material used throughout the structure. Smoke filled the maze, visibility dropped to almost nothing. Guests became trapped inside. By the end of the tragedy, 8 teenagers had lost their lives. Investigators later discovered the attraction lacked critical safety systems, including smoke detectors and sprinklers, despite previous recommendations. The disaster exposed major failures in the inspections and fire safety oversight. Many experts still consider the Haunted Castle fire one of the most important amusement park tragedies in American history because it led to significant changes in safety regulations. And for those who escaped, the memory of believing the fire was just another haunted house effect would stay with them forever. Alton Towers in England is one of the most famous theme parks in the world. In 2015, one of its newest attractions was the Smiler, a massive roller coaster known for its twisting layout and record-breaking inversions. On June 2nd, guests boarded expecting an exciting ride. Instead, they became part of one of the worst roller coaster accidents in recent history. Earlier that day, an empty train had stopped on the track after a test run. The ride safety system detected the issue, but after a series of mistakes and human errors, operators manually overrode warning systems. A second train carrying passengers was sent onto the track. Moments later, it slammed directly into the stationary train. The collision was devastating. 16 people were injured. 2 young women ultimately required leg amputations. Other riders in the back suffered from varying degrees of injury, from whiplash to punctured lungs and shattered kneecaps. It took 3 hours from when the initial crash happened to when the riders were freed. Investigators concluded that human error and failures in following safety procedures were major factors in the crash. The most unsettling part is that the safety system had actually detected the problem. The warnings were there, but they were ignored. Millions of people climb aboard each year believing they'll step off just a few minutes later with nothing more than an adrenaline rush. But on July 19, 2013, that trust was shattered at Six Flags Over Texas. The park's signature attraction, the new Texas Giant, had recently undergone a massive renovation. Originally built as a wooden coaster in 1990, it had been transformed into a hybrid steel and wood coaster, offering a smooth ride while preserving its towering wooden structure. Standing more than 150 feet tall and reaching speeds of 65 miles per hour, it quickly became one of the park's biggest attractions. That afternoon, a 52-year-old woman from Texas boarded the ride with family members. As the train climbed the steep lift hill, witnesses later recalled hearing her express concerns that the restraint didn't feel secure. According to statements reported after the incident, she reportedly told the ride operator she didn't feel safe, though investigators were unable to determine exactly how that conversation ended. Moments later, the train plunged down its first drop. Then halfway through the ride, the unthinkable happened. The woman was ejected from the coaster and fell dozens of feet onto the roof below. Emergency personnel rushed to the scene, but she died from her injuries. The accident shocked guests throughout the park. Many had watched it happen in real time. The coaster was immediately shut down as investigators from the Texas Department of Insurance and ride engineers began examining what had gone wrong. Their investigation concluded that the restraint system had locked, but because of the rider's body size, there was excessive space between the restraint and her body. During the ride's powerful force, she was able to move enough to be ejected from the train. Investigators found no evidence of a mechanical failure in the coaster itself. Instead, they concluded that the restraint system had not adequately accommodated the rider's size. Following the tragedy, Six Flags and the ride's manufacturer modified the restraint system by adding redesigned seatbelts and improving procedures for determining whether guests could safely secure before dispatch. Today, the new Texas Giant continues to operate. Most guests who ride it have no idea that one of the most significant coaster safety reviews in recent history began with a single tragic ride. It's a sobering reminder that even when a ride is functioning exactly as designed, proper restraint fit is just as critical as the engineering itself. Because at 65 miles per hour, just a few inches can make the difference between an unforgettable thrill and an unimaginable tragedy. Theme parks are statistically very safe. Millions of people visit them every year without incident. But these tragedies serve as a reminder that behind every ride is a complex system of engineering, maintenance, and human decision-making. Even when one piece of that system fails, the consequences can be devastating.